Every now and then a blaster comes along that makes you rethink what a tripod is and how it should be used. Welcome to Guido's Chop Shop, the second best gel blaster channel on the tubes. And today we have one of those blasters that takes up more space on my bench than I can possibly have. So I've had to do some magic with tripods on boxes and everything just so that I could fit it in the screen for you today. This is the Remington MSR blaster, gel blaster. I don't know what that says, but I think it's the company is JJ, something JJ. I have no idea how to pronounce it. This is a nice box. The box opens and closes with magnets. I've seen that before in other things, but I've never actually seen that with gel blasters before. But here we go. It's got a nice picture in the box of what you hope to receive. And there is the blaster. Looks quite nice in there. Nice packing. These glasses have got to be the ugliest glasses I have ever seen to come with a gel blaster. But just judging by the looks of them, I reckon they might actually stop a gel. I might, may or may not test that later on, but they look ugly but solid somewhat. And this blaster does not look ugly but solid. It looks solid, but it does not look ugly. I heard about this. I heard about this blaster, and I could not say no. I had to see this thing. I saw the pictures, and yeah, it was something I definitely wanted to have a look at myself. And here it is. I noticed, first thing I noticed is this. It's a barrel, which is not the barrel which is fitted to it. So clearly it comes with two barrels. This one might be longer. It looks like it's it looks like it's a little bit longer. Hopefully that's in frame, because I can't tell because the box is so big. But yeah, so additional barrel, which is longer than the standard one. I've never seen that before. That's new to me. Let's get this foam out. Spring. Additional spring. Assuming there's a spring in there. That's an additional spring. Battery charger. Battery charger on a bolt action is also interesting. I believe this, if you've seen the AWM, the earlier AWM, I think it's made by the same people, and it ran a similar system where it actually has a battery inside the mag, but it's bolt action, but it's got a little motor in the mag to feed the gels. And I tell you what, I like that, because spring powered and mechanical powered mags just seem to, I don't know, they seem to be asking for trouble, I feel. Let's get this out of the box. Let's put this box away. As much as it is a nice box, let's get it out of the way. Alright, let's have a closer look at this. Look at this stock. Look at this folding stock. Like, it's got So many options on it. I don't even know where to start. A little bit of protection there for the magwell. This thing, is this even all in frame? It is huge. Nylon with, looks like these wheels are alloy. This looks like steel. It looks like metal trigger, metal bolt handle, nylon magazine, metal inserts, nutserts all on the handguard to put all your various attachments on there. And all of this stock is adjustable. I love this. Look at this. You can adjust your cheek weld. You can adjust the length of the stock here. You can actually adjust the position of this shoulder piece to suit your size and shape. That is awesome. This pistol grip is rubbery. Rubbery? It is, yeah, it is a nice rubber, contoured rubber. Oh, cool. Did you hear that? I don't know if you did. Let me try and do it again. So when you cock that, when you rack that bolt back, it presses a little button on the mag, which runs the mag motor, which I assume will feed your next gel in. That is cool. Alright, I tell you what, I gotta do something. I gotta do something before we go any further. I gotta do this because I just feel like it's not like, it just doesn't look right. Without a scope sitting on top of it. Now it looks right. It looked kind of disproportionate without a scope. Now it looks correct in my mind. I think a bipod would look kind of cool as well. But looks aside, let's get down to the nitty gritty of this. We've got metal components and nylon components, a combination of both. There is that whole top rail is nylon. This is cool. I like this. In the cheek weld here, in the adjustable cheek weld, you have if I can get it out. There it is. You have an Allen key, which is the right size to adjust your various Picatinny rails or whatever on the handguard or here on the stock, and the other side is the right size for, I think it's the right size for this, the back of the bolt here, which is kind of cool. I like having little tools handy. Let's chuck this thing onto the chrono before we go any further. Get this in. Alright. Alright. This is a big thing. 246. 246. I don't know if that was a double or whether I just definitely shot something. 249. Also 249. 246. 196. 253. 176. 'No read. No fire. 249. 249. 238. 244. Whew. Imagine spending half an hour setting up boxes so that you can get your whole blaster in shot, and then having to take it all down again for the chrono shot. Oh well. While we're here, let's get some close-up footage. So you can see nice detail. Just going to flip this over. You can see here, got the Remington markings. This is the rubbery grip. And the handguard with all the metal inserts. Alright, so the next thing for me to do will be to take this down and see how it ticks. Now, when I was chronoing there, I'll make mention that I was using Alpha King gels, AKAs, whatever, the tenacity weight hards. These gels I found worked really nicely. I did put some regular milkies in first, and it just didn't seem to like them at all. It was having feeding dramas and all sorts of issues I was having just trying to get the gel to feed out of here for some reason. That was some old crappy milkies that I had kicking around that I usually just reserve for chrono tests and stuff, because I don't want to waste the good AKAs on chrono testing. But nonetheless, I used the AKAs in this because it just worked better. I couldn't seem to get a good feed with a regular milky, so AKAs, I guess, are the go for this blaster. You fill them up in here, pop this open and fill them up here, and this little hatch back here is where your battery lives. And check this out, it's the cutest little battery I've seen. Look at this tiny little battery. It's classic. Yeah, but that battery is purely just to run the feed of the mag, so it doesn't have to be all that big, I guess. It's only just feeding gels for you, so it's not using a whole heap of amps to do that. Most of the power is in your wrist. Alright, so let's take a look at this in terms of teardown. I guess one of the first things I'm going to want to do, like, it came with a spring, right? So of course I want to put that in. I'm going to put that in and see what that does. I don't know if that's a heavier spring. I guess it's a heavier spring, right? So you can get more FPS. And it's also got an interchangeable barrel. So I want to change the barrel out as well and see what that does in terms of both FPS and accuracy. Unfortunately, due to my workshop setup here, I don't really have a range large enough to test accuracy. But I'll see what I can do. I might be able to reserve a spot at a local field and just get out there for a few minutes and film some stuff if I can. If not, well, I'll see what I can do. Safety up here. It's the same system as the other. I think it was this Steyr had this same safety system like that. Push forward and you've got trigger. Pull it back and you don't have trigger. Alright, let's pull this down and have a look. Probably the first thing I want to look at is this barrel and how it works and how it's interchangeable and all that sort of business. And of course, I've just put this scope on, but now I'm going to have to take it off. But I think it was worth it even for that 5 minutes. Alright, I'll take that off too. There is some 3mm Allen screws on this top rail here. And there looks like underneath here there's some larger 4mm ones. Quite long too. Now, handguard off. Look at that. Oh, it's got a nice aluminium ring there. I guess that is what holds the barrel on. Let me have a look at this other barrel. Yes, so looks like that barrel is held in by that lock ring, and it is definitely a longer barrel. I'll get a tape measure for you. Alright, so from the T-piece to the end of the standard one is 49 centimeters, and from the end of the T-piece to the optional one is 50, I want to say 59, it was 58.5 roughly. Let me just, I mean the other one, I'm measuring from where the T-piece ends, so this one could be 48.5 as well. So depending on the actual length of the T inside here, it could be 48 and 58 ish, about that. Oh no, I can see the barrel actually starts where that T-piece ends there, so that is the actual, they're like 48.5 and 58.5 centimeters respectively. I don't know if the internal diameter is the same or different. Let's have a look. So the different colors, I don't know if you can see that. So the optional one is silver and the stock one is red. You can see that? Alright, so .46 7.31 7.3. Interesting. It seems like the shorter one is a tighter bore and the longer one is let me just, so I'm not going crazy, I'm just going to check myself with a different caliper. 7.3. 7.4. I'm not going crazy. I just checked with two different calipers, 7.3 and 7.4 ish barrels. So the longer one is a looser bore and the shorter one is a tighter bore. That's mind-boggling. I'm confused. I would have thought you'd go the other way, have a tight bore long barrel and a looser bore short barrel. Anyway, that is what it is. We'll see what effects that has on the actual chrono. I'm going to make an assumption and say that the T must come out with the barrel, because that T is not flexible at all. There's no way that that is no way that that's staying in there. So I'd say that has to come out, and that comes out with it. I think I'm actually going to remove the entire top rail, because the way it comes up over the top here is going to make it difficult to undo that. So I mean, for the sake of a few screws, just going to take that rail off. Nice metal inserts as well. Tell you what I hate, screwing into nylon or plastic, because it strips out so easily. It's really good to see some nutserts in there. Alright, so I think what I'm going to need to do is undo this one and just remove the whole lot. It's probably a smart idea. So I'll do this one as well. So that's very similar to the design of the M24. Yes, very similar to the M24 design and the previous, I forget the model number of the previous JJ. They did an AWM and they also did another one, which I can't remember the model number of, 702 or something. Okay, so now, now I can remove this T piece entirely, and then we'll be able to take that barrel nut off, because the barrel nut's kind of, you can't remove the barrel nut with the T piece. It's like a real nice fit inside there. So I was kind of somewhat hoping that this would be field strippable, like as in it comes with a little Allen key in it. Maybe you could just use the Allen key that comes in the stock to take off the various main components, and then alright, so there's my T, complete with AKAs falling out of it. Yeah, I was kind of hoping it was going to be field strippable, in that you could just with the Allen key in the stock undo everything required to swap the barrel over rather swiftly in the field. So there you go, there is the barrel. And incidentally, remember how I said I was having trouble with Milkies? There's my trouble with Milkies. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, that's why I was having issues with Milkies. They were, for whatever reason, they were not feeding well. Alright, the bolt itself has got a nice bit of weight to it. The trigger group looks like it's cast alloy. It is cast alloy. Safety there. It's nice. It doesn't look like it's going to snap off in a hurry. And actually, when I pull this, it doesn't feel like it's gonna snap either. The bolt handle feels really nice. The trigger feels really nice. I don't think they're gonna break. I believe the cylinder looks like the cylinder is still nylon though. So if you do cock this back and like, if you tweak it, if you like push too far, if you pull it straight back, you're not, there's no issues. But I think if you like tweak it that way, you might find yourself with potentially some issues. But hopefully there's a alloy cylinder in the aftermarket available. But yeah, the trigger and bolt group seems nice and solid, aside from the cylinder being nylon. But let's have a look. Let's get this spring out, hey, and put the other spring in. Okay, just looking at this bolt group and trigger group now. To disassemble this, first you need to pop this bar that holds the spring. You can see it in here. This here is what holds the spring in the back there, and you can just get a little screwdriver, a little flat one. Just gently lever that down, and that'll pop that out, and then that releases all the tension on the spring. Now, I found the easiest way to get the entire bolt out is to remove the trigger group with these two Phillips head screws. Now they are self-tappers into nylon, which is a little bit disappointing considering that all the other screws seem to have nutserts. These ones just do self-tap into the nylon, and I guess theoretically you probably shouldn't be taking this apart all that often, but the whole trigger group, there's no need to split that and take it apart, because you could just drop it off like that and then access the spring. If you're keen to know how all this works, this is obviously the safety. Just stops you from being able to pull that trigger. If you push it forward, it gives you the ability to pull that trigger. This little piece here, when you move the bolt handle, it will press that, and that will either allow or disallow you to pull the trigger from the front here. So if that's down, you can't pull the trigger. So if you've got the bolt pulled back, this locks down, so you can't pull the trigger there either. This piece actually will catch the back of the spring when you pull it back, and then lock onto it when you pull it forward. And then by pulling the trigger, it will actually lower this whole section here, so that drops down and releases the spring and allows it to. Anyway, let's move on to this bolt. You can't slide the bolt out backwards because this piece here will catch there. So what I like to do, slide this back, then get yourself your 4mm Allen head driver and undo this big screw out the back. Again, that is a self-tapper into nylon, so be careful of that, and also be careful of this detent and spring that's in there. Try not to lose that. With that removed, you should be able to slide your bolt handle off, and then your entire bolt assembly will slide out forward. At this point, I think it's a good idea to pop that bar back in the back there to hold on to that spring. with that in place, you should be able to punch this pin out now. And you can do that with, I like to do it with if you haven't got a proper pin punch, which I don't have a pin punch that small, I like to do it with the head of a small Allen. Just pop that out there like that. Slide it out with a pair of pliers. Now that gives these two tiny Phillips heads remaining there. So sorry, I can't do this in a manner that you can see, but just got to remove these two tiny. They're like below zero Phillips, and they are tapped into nylon as well, so that's unfortunate. Alright, so now we can pop this out, and that's going to be under the full tension of the spring, and you can then slide that spring out, and also, for what it's worth, you can slide the piston out. Let's have a look at this piston. Whoa, plenty of schmoo. Plenty of schmoo there. It does look like it's got a nice silicon O-ring. So it is an O-ring type, not a plunger type. I don't know if there's better O-rings that we can get to replace that, but it does seem to have a relatively okay seal. Could possibly be better, but the seal is not too bad. I wouldn't mind maybe something just a little bit better in the O-ring department, but it's not a standard size that I have, so I'll have to search around and see if I can find a suitable replacement for that. At this time I don't have one. But let's get this larger spring in to this cylinder. Actually, before we do that, let's take some measurements of this cylinder. Alright, so the internal diameter of the cylinder is 18 millimeters, or 18.1 thereabouts, give or take, for manufacturing tolerances. Around about 18, if you can see that. And the actual swept volume of the cylinder, if you can see, this is the piston here, so the O-ring head there comes to about there, and so the actual swept volume of the cylinder is that far, which is good question if my caliper can measure that. Oh yeah, of course it can. Alright, so where are we? From about there. We're looking at about 85 millimeters of swept volume in that cylinder. Let's do some quick maths. So, a little bit of mathematics tells me that the cylinder volume here is approximately 21 cc's, and the short barrel with a internal diameter of 7.3 mils and 48.5 centimeters length gives me roughly 20 cc's, a little bit like 20.2 or something like that. So very, very similar volume in the cylinder to the barrel. So almost 1 to 1. In fact, 1.06 to 1 or something ratio, which is yeah, very close. And that leaves me with my next question is, I know that the longer barrel is obviously longer, so it's got more volume, and it's also a wider bore, so it's going to be over volume for this cylinder. This cylinder is not going to have the amount of air to displace to put the gel out of the barrel properly. It probably will, because obviously there's momentum behind the gel once it's moving. But if you've got, I know with AKAs and Ultras, some of the harder gels, they're slightly big in size sometimes, and they can jam in barrels, and that's going to cause some real dramas. You're going to get probably some double feeds. You're probably going to get, yeah, it's that long barrel seems to be. I'll do the math. Hang on, just give me a sec. So the longer barrel I calculated with a 7.4 inner diameter and 49.5 centimeters length. That's 21.2 cc's, which is like, it is so close to the volume I calculated for this, which is 21.6 cc's. So it is so close, so very, very close to the volume of this. I think that it's a little too close. I think it's a little too close. I mean, I don't like to have too much cylinder volume to barrel ratio, but yeah, this is cutting it very, very, very fine. You know, like, you want to be able to at least clear the barrel. Don't forget, we're displacing air. So if you're displacing a volume of air here, I haven't taken into consideration the volume of the nozzle either. So there's going to be probably another cc in that nozzle. So it's definitely going to be under. So if you're displacing air here, you have to have pretty much the exact amount of air or more. You need to have more than the volume of the barrel in this cylinder, because basically you're pushing this air down here and displacing that air into the barrel to move the gel. So what we're seeing in volumes here is basically you're going to move the gel to almost to the end of the barrel and then have no power left. So you're basically going to be relying only on the momentum that the gel has gained through moving down the barrel to get it out of the muzzle. And while that might be okay, if your gels are perfectly sized, it's probably not going to fly with the inconsistencies that we tend to get when we're dealing with gels in general. Yeah, I mean, there's ways we can deal with this, but I think it's probably a little bit strange that they would include that size of barrel for anything other than maybe aesthetic purposes. Anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's get this upgraded spring inside here. So, alright, so we've got to make sure that the holes with the little screws, which is this side, line up with the holes on that side. So you've got 3 holes here and 1 hole here. So what I think the best course of action here is to get your pin ready, push this in the right direction like that, and then Where's the pin? Get your pin ready, he says. Doesn't have pin ready. And then pop your pin in. In that direction. Alright, now that we've got the pin in, we can pop our two little tiny screws in. To retain the that back of the bolt there. I think that this would be nicer if it was like a aluminium, but I mean, we can't ask too much. Can't ask too much. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of aluminium upgrade available on the market for this. Now, just going to slide that back into the upper again. Pop the bolt handle in, and then pop the retainer in the back there, and using your 4mm Allen screw, tighten it back up. Don't over tighten it, remember, there, it is only nylon that it's going into. So now that that's back in, we can slip the trigger group back on and pop the two screws back in. Again, self-tapped into nylon, don't over tighten them. We don't want that stripped out. That would be terrible. I don't know what this piece is called, but it's the bit that retains the spring in the back. So that just pops back into here. You might need to give it a bit of a tap, just to tap it back in there. Good to go. Alright, let's whack all this back together and get a chrono result. I'm going to do the standard barrel that was attached previously, because we've already got chrono result with that barrel, so makes sense. So it makes sense to get a chrono result off the same barrel now that the spring's upgraded, because we've got metrics that are measurable. Some people ask about the chrono readings and whatnot. The chrono isn't the be-all and end-all of everything, whatever. It's just, it is a measurable metric. It is something that is an easily measurable metric, so it gives an idea on what performance change has occurred. Does not necessarily have a effect on accuracy or distance. I mean, it does. It all matters. But FPS is important in that it is a measurable metric that we can read and tell that something has changed here. Otherwise I could just tell you anything and you'd be like, oh yeah, he said that, but did he lie? Why would I do that? The idea is that I am just explaining my findings. So, will we see an improvement with this barrel or not? I'm actually inclined to maybe leave the handguard off, do the chrono on this barrel, and then then swap over to the longer barrel and do a chrono on the longer barrel, because that's less work for me, and that's good. Less work is good. Alright, here we go. New spring chrono test with short barrel. $287, $289. What? $370. That was a bit of an anomaly, I think. $292. $274. Alright, we're back with the long barrel this time. Now keep in mind, I think I measured the long barrel was 0.1 of a millimeter wider bore, so that'll be interesting. 253, 279, 219. Also worth noting that I haven't, this is fresh barrel, so haven't had any gels down it, so that makes a difference as well. 256. Ooh, that was an anomaly. 244. 379, another anomaly. And that sounded like a barrel jam. Let me just clear that. Alright. $244. And that sounded empty. 171. I just can't seem to get consistency, and I'm not sure what that's about, whether it's the gels or what. But the other thing I thought was weird is why I have an additional barrel that's longer but larger bore. I would have thought if you went with a longer barrel, you'd go with a tighter bore. That way your volume would be similar. I got no real good results with the longer barrel at all. The best results I had were always with the short barrel. Short barrel was more consistent, higher FPS, just in general better. I could not get this barrel to do much of anything at all. It just didn't want to work for me for whatever reason. Which is a bit disappointing. Understanding that FPS isn't everything, and that sometimes lower FPS is more accurate, and therefore having a longer barrel with a lower FPS isn't the end of the world. It could actually be better. It could be more beneficial. But my issue was not with the lower FPS. My issue was with the lack of consistency in the FPS. Like I was getting yeah, all over the shop, and I think I was getting double feeds, so there was all sorts of problems I was having, and I mean hopefully I'm gonna spend a bit more time trying to sort it out and see if I can get it to perform a little bit nicer, because it is a really nice blaster, and it's a shame that it is performing the way it is. But I'll leave it at that. Don't forget, you can get patches. Hit me up on Facebook. The Loguitos Chopters is the page. Send me a DM if you're interested in getting a patch. Links for this down in the description. Link to buy me a coffee down in the description if you wish to. And peace out. Enjoy your gel blasting. See you next time.